Om Shairam, Sri Sai Charitra, chapter 16 and 17, English. These two chapters relate the story of a rich gentleman who wanted Brahmanyana quickly from Sai Baba. Preliminary. The last chapter described how Mr. Cholkar vow of small offering was completed and accepted. In the story, Sai Baba showed that he would accept with appreciation any small thing offered with love and devotion. But if the same thing was offered with pride and haughtiness, he would reject it. Being himself full of Satchit Anand, existence, knowledge, and bliss, he did not care much for more outward formalities. But if an offering was made in meek and humble spirit, the same was welcome, and he accepted it with pleasure and avidity. In fact, there is no person more liberal and benevolent than a Sadguru like Sai Baba. He cannot be compared to the Chindamani jewel, the philosopher's stone which satisfies desires, the Karpavataru, the celestial tree with philosopher's stone which satisfies desires. The Kalpavataru, the celestial tree which fulfills our desires, or the Kamadhenu, the celestial cow which yields that we desire. For they give us only what we desire. But the Sadguru gives us the most precious thing, that is inconceivable and inscrutable, the reality. Now let us hear how Sai Baba disposed of a rich man who came to him and implored him to give him Brahmanyana. There was a rich gentleman, unfortunately his name and whereabouts are not mentioned, who was very prosperous in his life. He had amassed a large quantity of wealth, houses, fields, and lands, and had many servants and dependents. When Baba's fame reached his ears, and he said to a friend of his that he was not in want of anything, and so he would go to the Shiradi and ask Baba to give him Brahmanyana, which if he got would certainly make him more happy. His friend dissuaded him, saying, "It is not easy to know Brahman, and especially so for an avaricious man like you, who is always engrossed in wealth, wife and children, who will in your quest of Brahmanyana satisfy you, that won't give away even a peace in charity." Not minding his friend's advice, the fellow engaged a return journey, Tanga, and came to Shiradi. He went to Masjid, saw Sai Baba, fell at his feet and said, "Baba, hearing that you show the Brahman to all who come over here without any delay, I have come here all the way from my distant place. I am much fatigued by the journey, and if I get the Brahman from you, my troubles will be well paid and rewarded." Baba then replied, "Oh, my dear friend, do not be anxious. I shall immediately show you the Brahman. All my dealings are in cash and never on credit. So many people come to me and ask for the wealth, health, power, honor, position, cure of disease and other temporal matters. Rare in the person who comes here to me and asks for Brahmanyana. There is no dearth of persons asking for worldly things, but as persons interested in spiritual matters are very rare. I think it a lucky and auspicious moment when persons like you and press me for Brahmanyana. So I show to you with pleasure the Brahman with all its accompaniments and complications." Hearing this, Baba started to show him to the Brahman. He made him sit there and engaged him in some other talk or affair, and thus made him forget his question for the time being. Then he called a boy and told him to go to a Nandu Marwari and get from him a hand loan of ₹5. The boy left and returned immediately, saying that the Nandu was absent and his house was locked. Then Baba asked him to go for a bala grocer and get from him and said loan. This time also the boy was unsuccessful. This experiment was repeated again twice or thrice with the same result. Sai Baba was, as we know, the living and moving Brahman incarnate. Then someone may ask, why did he want the partly sum of ₹5, and why did he try hard to get it on loan? Really, he did not want the sum at all. He must have been fully knowing that the Nandu and the Bala were absent, and he seems to have adopted this procedure as a test for the seeker of Brahman. The gentleman had a roll on bundle of currency notes in his pocket, and if he was really earnest, he would not have sat quiet and be a mere onlooker. When Baba was frantically trying to get a paltry sum of ₹5, he knew that Baba would keep his word and repay the debt and that the sum wanted was insignificant. Still, he could not make up his mind and advance the sum. Such a man wanted from Baba the greatest thing in the world, versus Brahmanyana. Any other man who really loved Baba would have at once given rupees 5 instead of being a mere onlooker. It was an impatient as he was in the haste to return and implored Baba, saying, "Oh Baba, please show me the Brahman soon." Baba replied, "Oh my dear friend, did you not understand all the procedure that I went through sitting in this place for enabling you to see the Brahman? It is in short this: for seeing Brahman, one has to give 5 things, that is, surrender 5 things, is as 5 pranas, vital forces, 5 senses, 5 of action, and 5 of perceptions, mind, intellect, and ego. This path of Brahmanyana, of self-realization, is as hard as to tread on the edge of razor." Sai Baba then gave rather a long discourse on the subject, the purport of which is given below. Qualifications of Brahmanyana are self-realization. All persons do not see or realize the Brahman in their lifetime. Certain qualifications are absolutely necessary. Mumuksha or intense desire to get free. He who thinks that he is bound and he should get free from the bondage and works earnestly and resolutely to that end, and who does not care of any other things, is qualified, and the spiritual life, virakti, or a feeling on the disgust with the things of this world and the next. Unless a man in this world and the next, he has no right to enter into the spiritual realm. Antarmuha, the introversion, whose senses have been created by the God with a tendency to move outward, and so man always look outside himself and not inside. Who wants the self-realization and immortal life must turn his gaze inwards and look to his inner self. Catharsis from the purging away of sins. Unless a man has turned away from wickedness and stopped from doing wrong and has entirely composed himself, and unless his mind is at rest, he cannot gain self-realization even by means of knowledge, right conduct. Unless a man leads a life of the truth, penance, and insight, a life of celibacy, he cannot get God realization. Preferring Shreyas, the good, to the Prayas, the pleasant, there was 2 sorts of the things, the good and the pleasant. The former deals with the spiritual affairs and the latter with the mundane matters. Both these approaches man of acceptance. He has to think and choose one of them. The wise man prefers the good to the pleasant, but the unwise, though greed the attachment, choose the pleasant. Control of the mind and the senses. The body is in the chariot and self is its master. Intellect in the charioteer and the mind in the reins. The senses are the horses and sense objects their parts. He who has no understanding and whose mind is unrestrained, his senses unmanageable like the vicious horse of charioteer, does not reach his destination, get realization, but goes through the round of births and death. But he who has understanding and whose mind is restrained, his senses being under control like the good horse of charioteer, reaches that place. That is the state of self-realization when he is not born again. The man who has understanding in his charioteer guide and is able to rein his mind reaches the end of the journey, which is supreme abode of all pervading Vishnu Lord. Purification of the mind. Unless a man discharges satisfactorily and disinterestedly the duties of his station in life, the mind will not be purified, and unless his mind is purified, he cannot get self-realization. It is only in purified mind that viveka, or discrimination between the unreal and the real, and the vairagya, non-attached to the unreal, crop up and lead on the self-realization. Unless egoism is dropped, whereas got rid of and the mind made desireless, pure self-realization is not possible. The idea that I am the body is a great delusion, and the attached to the idea is the cause of bondage. Leave off this idea and attach. Therefore, if you want to get the self-realization, the necessity of the Guru, the knowledge of the self, is so subtle and mystic that no one could by his own individual effort even hope to attain it. So, the help of the another person, teacher who has himself got self-realization, is absolutely necessary. What others cannot give with a great about the pains can be easily gained with the help of such a teacher, for he was walked on the path himself and can easily take the disciple step by step on the ladder of the spiritual progress. And lastly, the Lord's grace is the most essential thing. When the Lord is pleased with anybody, he gives him viveka and vairagya and takes him safe beyond the ocean. mundane existence. The self cannot be gained by the study of the Vedas, nor by intellect, nor by much learning. He whom the self chooses, by him it is gained. To him, to the self reveals its nature, says the Katha Upanishad. After the dissertation was over, Baba turned to the gentleman and said, "Well, sir, there is your packet in the Brahma or Mammon in the form of the 50 times 5 rupees, 250 rupees. Please take that out." Gentleman took out from his pocket in the bundle of currency notes, and his great surprise found on counting them that there was 25 notes of 10 rupees each. Seeing his omniscience of Baba, he was moved and felt at Baba's feet and craved for his blessings. Baba said to him, "Roll up your bundle and Brahma versus currency notes. Unless you get rid completely of your whereas of greed, you will not get the real Brahma. How can we whose mind is engrossed in wealth, progeny, and prosperity expect to know the Brahma without removing away his attachment for the same? The illusion of attachments or the love of money is a deep eddy whirlpool of the pain, full of crocodiles in the form of conceit and jealousy. He who is desireless can alone cross his whirlpool. Greed and Brahma are the poles as under they are eternally opposed to each other. Where there is a greed, there is no room of the thought or meditation of the Brahma. Then how can the greedy man get dispassion and salvation? For a greedy man there is no peace, neither contentment, nor certainly steadiness. If there be even a little knowledge of a well-read man who is not free from the desire of the fruit or reward of these actions, and who has got no disgust for the same, is useless and can't help him in getting self-realization. The teachings of a guru are of no use of the man who is full of egoism and who always thinks about the sense objects. Purification of mind is absolutely necessary. Without it, all of our spiritual endeavors are nothing but useless show and pomp. It is therefore better for one to take only what he can digest and assimilate. My treasury is full and I can give any more what he wants, but I have to see whether he is qualified to receive what I give. If you listen to me carefully, you will be certainly benefited. Sitting in the masjid, I never speak any untruth. When a guest is invited to a house, all the members of the household and other friends and relationship that happen to be present are entertained along with the guests. All those that were present in the masjid at that time could partake of the spiritual feast that was served by the Baba for this rich gentleman. After getting Baba's blessings, one and all, including the gentleman, left the place quite happy and contented. Special characteristic of Baba: there are many saints who, leaving their houses, stay in forests, caves, or hermitages, and remaining in solitude try to get liberation or salvation of themselves. They do not care of other people and they are always self-absorbed. Sai Baba was not of such a type. He had no home, no wife, no progeny, nor any relations near or distant. Still, he lived in the world society. He begged his bread from 4 or 5 houses, always lived at the foot of the neem tree, carried on worldly dealings, and taught all the people how to act and behave in this world. Rare are the sadhus and saints who, after attaining God vision, striving for the welfare of the people. Sai Baba was the foremost of these, and therefore says Hemadman, blessed in the country, blessed in the family, and blessed are the chaste parents from this extraordinary transcendent, precious, and pure jewel. Sai Baba was born. Bow to Sri Sai and peace to be all. Bow to Sri Sai and peace to be all. Thank you.